Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissy Mayer podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. It can be sexy, flirty. It can be, how to make your favorite cocktail. It can really just say anything you want, so long as it's 5 stars. And I'll be reading the best reviews every week on this show, so long as they are 5 stars. Speaking of 5 stars, I'm going to talk about some 5-star hot sauce right here. And if you're feeling spicy, I want you to go to silkcityhotsauce.com right now and use the code CMP for 15% off your entire order. And these guys are so fucking awesome. They're going to throw in for you for free, whoopah, a bottle of free cherry sriracha. It's super hot, like you and me. Is that a good thing to add in? I don't know. We're hot, we're spicy. Go to silkcityhotsauce.com now and use the promo code CMP for 15% off your entire order. They're going to throw in some free stickers for you too. I like the taco one. I like the smoking one. There's a dragon one. There's mango madness. There's so many. They have tonics in there. They have a ton of shit. And these guys are really big comedy fans, which I think I love above all else. They retweet me. They're funny. I always really appreciate when the sponsors are also funny. Additionally, I want to talk to you guys about Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve says that the best part of staying at home is playing at home. Go to adamandeve.com and use the promo code CMP at checkout so you can get almost any item online for 50% off. And when you use our special discount code CMP, you'll get bonus gifts. They got a bunch of different cool bonus things you can get. I actually went online yesterday and I was about to order some stuff. And then I got distracted like I do, and I'm going to have to go back today and finish the deal. But you get your choice of 6 spicy movies, a 3-piece bonus set, and you'll definitely get free delivery no matter what. So use the promo code CMP. They have thousands of gifts, toys, and movies to help us lock down some great sex. I know Ryan's having a lot of great sex. He's got a hot new girlfriend. Maybe he needs to go to adamandeve.com and use promo code CMP. They have a lot of fun sex toys on there, fun vibrators. I checked it out. I'm very, very excited to have this guy on the podcast. We go way back to March together. He's come to be known from the world of tinfoil hat. He is comedy adjacent. He is conspiracy adjacent. He's an LA old school hippie. He was off the grid Ryan, but now we're calling him Beyond the Grid Ryan, because he really is. He's beyond the grid. Ryan, how are you?
How is New York treating you?
It's pretty good. I mean, I'm far enough away from the city that I feel like there's some distance, I'm out here in Westchester. It's good. It's been good. Months back, they tried to get a Chaz going. Westchester was like, no, that's not happening. We need to protect our malls. I love so much how we met, because we met doing tinfoil hat together back in March, which was my pivotal moment of beginning my red pill journey. And we met, we did the podcast together. I had seen of you, but never met you before. I was nervous during the podcast for sure, because I was immediately oh wow, these guys know so much more. And I was just a wee babe in the red pill woods. And then after the pod was over, I had nothing to do. And then we went and got ramen and we bonded and talked a lot. And I was like, wow, this guy's the real deal. He's insane, but in a good way.
I felt bad for you. We were eating ramen. I pointed up at the Hollywood Hills, and I was like, you know who lives up there, right? And I just saw this look in your eye, and then a couple months later, you decide to take down people for, you start, pulling on the right strings.
Yep. But who knew that months later I would be catalyzing a Chrissy Teigen breakdown? I didn't see that coming. So
the universe works weird. Maybe the only person that can take me down is other Ryan. So
you know what it is? Yeah, it's the Chrissy versus Chrissy face off. For sure.
Well,
yeah.
I was surprised they even asked me to do it, because very few people in the podcast world even know me personally, besides Greg Carwood, the Higher Side Chats, and a personal friend of mine, Stevie Weeby. Those are pretty much the only pods that I can think of. Oh, Jason Rouse. You know Jason Rouse? Can you meet him?
No, I don't know him.
He's a Canadian. You would love him. He's super dirty.
I love Canadians.
Out of Hamilton. He's one of the best. I love that dude.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And I know I wanted to talk to you about some 9/11 stuff. I mean, 9/11 was a few days ago, and I think it's really good that we waited because it's a real thing that happened. Yes, there are conspiracy theories around if what the public was told is really what went down, but I realize it is so important to give that day some time and space because there are people really hurting from. Everyone's still hurting from it. The whole country is still hurting from it, and there are people who lost loved ones on that day. So it's good that we gave the day, some space, some respect. And now we're here a few days later to talk about what we think may have actually gone down on that day and what sort of evidence we have to support the truth behind it all.
Oh yeah, I like to call it anomalies because like these are things that use science and logic and actual sort of a rationale, if you will, as opposed to, I mean, energy directed weapons might be a thing. There might be some other weird
Energy directed
vampire.
weapons?
Yeah, that's a theory. There's all sorts of strange like some sort of like deep web dark like DARPA technology that's 300 years beyond what the public has. There's these kooky ass ideas where you can go all day with those, but there's no science to it. So in order to really, I don't know, talk about this in a way that's respectful, but also in a way to get people's minds turning, I wanted to show you the anomalies that I have over the 19 years have like bookmarked and like filed in my head, like remember that shit.
Right.
And
That's what
also,
I love about you, Ryan. You're not like somebody who is trying to get a lot of attention and be, you're not like a conspiracy. Like I think of you as a conspiracy guy, but I don't think you're trying to brand yourself as like, do you know what I mean? I think you're one of the few people out there that's just like truth forward and keep your mind open. And even if you know and love a couple of conspiracy personalities, always be questioning even them, like Alex Jones has a lot of followers, but maybe he's not the end all be all. Maybe you shouldn't just take all of your, don't just listen to somebody and then call it a day and turn off your own curiosity.
yeah, a lot of people, the moment they hear that you're into anything fringe, they want to go to AJ. They want to talk about Alex. And I will then respond with them like, have you ever heard of Bill Cooper? And most of them are like, no. I'm like, Milton
I had never heard of
William
him.
Cooper. Yeah. He wrote a book, Behold the Pale Horse. It's like one of his it's the famous book that got him really the heat. I mean, it came out in 92, I believe, 91. But he did a prediction before 9/11. And this is what I believe is like what resulted in his death. And before the internet, people had to find different ways to get information out. Starting in 1992 via satellite hookups and shortwave frequencies from a radio studio from his hilltop on top of a hill way out in Eager, Arizona. This tiny little nothing. It's 15 miles from the New Mexico border, right? Bill Cooper broadcasted his show, The Hour of the Time, which is still rebroadcasted to this day. And I have listened to every single one endlessly. Like they're great long night like drives if you're trying to stay awake or you want to creep yourself out with friends.
It's called The Hour of the Time. And
Hour of the Time.
people can still go and find these broadcasts, even though
Yeah,
they're 15 years plus old.
they're put out on a podcast network nowadays. You can find them obviously on YouTube, but I personally am not a fan of Alphabet Inc. in any way. So I would say try to find it through the source. But what you could do is go on a Infinite Fringe, and that's a podcast network of sorts that puts a bunch of different platforms. And I believe David Icke's son is actually who runs that. So it's all kind of interconnected. But the Hour of the Time, he would break down starting from ancient origins, explaining how like sun worship led into this, then the Egyptians, then into like the Knights Templar. He would take you each hour to explain how we got to where we are now. And even though it seemed like what he was saying for the future was all coming true in real time, he was quoted for saying, I am no prophet. I am no Nostradamus. I have no crystal ball, just an ordinary guy. And to me, it's like I've met, like as you've met some kooky, awesome people that just being around them, that you could feel the energy, right? Well, when I heard him say those words, that's like I kind of wanted for me, like not necessarily like I idolize Bill Cooper, but I respect him in his way that he approached things logically as opposed to ideologically. I don't know. So
yeah, and he doesn't seem to have had a huge ego.
yeah, and I really I want people to know about Bill Cooper, because even though he has a troubled past, like there is a 2-part podcast on it called Behind the Bastards. A really great journalist named Robert Evans did a 2-part on it, and it broke my heart because I knew peripherally about him, you know, about abuse and alcoholism and his relationships with his like children and just how he's. But it's the fact is people are flawed, but that doesn't mean that the information they're bringing is flawed. And so that the whole idea is behold the pale horse comes from the book of Revelations. John, an exile on the island of Patmos, an author of the book of Revelation, which is where behold the pale horse comes from. The phrase appears in chapter 6, verse 8, which is when John is witness to the opening of the 7 seals, the preview of God's secret plan to once again destroy the world prior to bringing back like the kingdom of Jesus Christ, right?
So this is in the Bible.
Goes,
wow.
Yeah, this is straight up chapter 6, 8. And it goes, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him.
How dramatic.
So like what he was saying is, dude, we are witnessing the beginning of the end, and there's nothing you're going to do to stop this. Like he didn't say nothing. I say nothing. Like he was all about patriotism back before that was like a
partisan thing. Yeah.
I was about to say a Nazi term, basically. But he was about people that were trying to think freely, but still loved America for what it stood for. I don't know, in some weird way. But I mean, 8 years before the Trenchcoat Mafia murders at Columbine High School, right? 99. That's the year I graduated high school. I remember that like yesterday, right? He wrote, the sharp increase of prescription and psychoactive drugs like Prozac and Ritalin to younger and younger children will inevitably lead to a rash of horrific school shootings. These incidents will be used by elements of the federal government as an excuse to infringe upon the citizenry's Second Amendment rights.
Whoa.
That happened. Like he called out Columbine, and Columbine happened, right? Then people are like, whoa, this dude's on to some shit, right? Well, then on a broadcast of June 28th, 2001, Bill Cooper would make the prediction that a massive attack on U.S. soil would happen and Osama bin Laden would be blamed. I've listened to this one over and over. And what I love about it is he takes calls, right? And they play their calls. And the first call is like, yeah, I had a question about something else. He's like, we're not talking about that tonight. And he like hangs up on them. And then the next person's like calls in. And then he says something. He's like, yeah, you know, and he drops with like, it's, you know, probably the Jews. And dude, Bill Cooper lays into this guy that like, he just like raises his voice and like loses his shit. So in my mind, whenever people try to, you like to type into Bill Cooper into Wikipedia and they'll talk about anti-Semitic views, him propelling the ideas of the protocols of the elders of Zion, which he did before, this is before the internet, before you could truly figure out things. He was flawed in errors, but he was not a fucking Nazi. He was not an anti-Semite. And people to this day have forgotten that he exists. But what they remember is that he was a fucking anti-Semite. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, he was a lot of fucking things, but he wasn't a Nazi. And so, I mean, this is June 28th. When was 9/11? Exactly.
September 11th.
Exactly. Right?
Just a couple months after.
I mean, he was paranoid because like earlier in 1998, right, he was charged with tax evasion and an arrest warrant was issued for his, you know, he was basically a major fugitive by the U.S. Marshal Service by 2000. So he eventually was convinced that he was personally being targeted by Bill Clinton and the IRS.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to jump forward. We all know what happened on 9/11. If you don't, then fucking Google that shit, right? Well, Bill's final broadcast was on November 5th, 2001. And on that evening, the Apache County Sheriff's Department, county lives in, they came by 11:15. And basically, he called it out a long time ago that one day they're going to come for me and murder me at midnight on my doorstep. And sure enough, you know,
damn,
he was out there. He lived on this cul-de-sac where kids would go and like party and leave bottles. And so he was that old curmudgeon that would come and like yell at him for playing the music loud. Well,
Get
he
off my
went
lawn.
down there and there were unmarked police vehicles, unmarked cops. And so when he went back, he was shot on sight. They never called the ambulance until he's already announced dead. They
Damn.
needed to make sure this dude that was already knew way ahead of 9/11 couldn't talk about what was going to happen in the years now. I mean, 19 years afterwards, so much more smoke and mirrors shit has happened because of that day. And if they had Bill Cooper alive today instead of Alex Jones, who knows? Maybe we wouldn't be talking about, are they making the frogs gay? Maybe we wouldn't be doing awesome. And believe me, I love The Voice. I love to just every now and then just talk about to people, now you never know that the Israel's coming for these children. No, maybe if Bill Cooper was still alive today, people would know what I'm trying to tell people, that it's Thelma and Louise time. All right? We're heading towards the cliff.
Ugh,
Find a hand to
this
hold.
is so depressing.
I'm sorry, but find a fucking hand to hold. Because no one, no way is going to stop this awesome pink convertible from fucking skyrocketing into the Grand Canyon.
And the pink convertible is what?
Is Western civilization. It is whatever fucking we're currently existing in. This paradigm shift that we have seen in real time. We have witnessed in real time a shift that people don't even. I have a loved one I can't go and hug because they are full-blown germaphobe now. They never were before. And in 5 months, these screens all around us and the talking heads got into them. So now I can't hug them.
That sucks, man. Yeah.
I know. So that's why I really want to hammer it down, because it's good to question everything. It's good to look around the world and wonder what's happening, but it's not good to blindly follow wingnuts.
Yeah.
All right. Not blindly to just like agree. And honestly, this whole truth movement that started 19 years ago, the day that shit happened, truth is what you make it. All right. I know there's a Zen koan that says like the sun, the moon, and the truth are the only 3 things that can't be hidden.
And my quarantine weight.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that truth is no longer something that is even intangible. I believe it's smoke. I believe that truth is something that you hold inside. It vibrates and harmonizes with you. If you're a good person, then good things will ring true to you. If you're an evil fuck, then evil fucking horrible things will ring true.
Like attracts like. If you're low vibrational, you're going to attract low vibrational people, ideas, news even, right? And if you're like a good soul, other people will find you and you'll be like, I like this. You'll vibe, right? It's like you'll have the chemistry.
That's what I was saying to you when we first met. I was like, not to be a weird, I was like, I've heard your voice for a long time, hours in my head alongside, because I love the Real Ass Podcast.
Just listening to podcasts, not just, wiretapping my phone for people.
Yeah, no, I've listened to you basically hold your own with the Rattlesnake and Zach Amico, and I almost always hate when women are on the Real Ass Podcast.
Wow, high praise.
Just in that section, but
I love those guys. Those guys are funny as fuck. Yeah.
Like 3 more weeks. That's what I'm like chanting when you go on. So like to meet you in person, I like that you actually were a sweet person. So I don't know, like we exist in a world now that's filled with fear, and that string was rang on 2001, and now we are feeling it still. It's
wow. So it's a long. This is all. Everything is connected. This is a long game here. You would say planned out by the deep state. I mean, I don't know why I'm putting it in quotes. It's a real thing that exists, but
some people call it an event. I like to call it a ritual. And we'll get to why that I think it is. But I mean, if you ever just want to like blow someone's mind, then talk about the 3 notable weird anonymous events that happened prior to the World Trade Center, all right? That happened on site. And what I'm talking about is security at the Trade Center was suddenly increased around the end of August 2001. Security at the checkpoint leading to the garage under the Trade Center complex with deliveries and everything had to make pass. Super increased 2 weeks.
So there was more security before 9/11.
Extra measures were taken. A lot more Port Authority police officers at checkpoints. There was bomb sniffing dogs at all checkpoints. The additional security measures were withdrawn days before. On September 6th is when they pulled it all out. And September basically 11th was the very first day that there was not extra security.
And where are you finding this stuff out from?
So the reason that I call this shit the scientific stuff is this is from aetruth.org, a911truth.org. That's the Architects and Engineers for Truth of 9/11. These are like 3,000 architects and engineers around the whole country and the world that they themselves are like, first of all,
fishy.
Yeah, you're talking about ours. You're talking about my thing now, like numbers, stress, and everything that has to do with physics.
Because these buildings were built to withstand planes flying in them, were they not? Like, wasn't there a plane that flew into it like years back? Am I pulling that out of my ass?
Yeah, no, just like the Biggie song, "Blow Up Like the World Trade." I think it happened in '93.
Yeah.
But think about what an airplane is. I'm always amazed when I see them in the sky. Like, how the fuck is that thing in the air? And you're like, oh, it's literally an aluminum can.
Yeah.
It's like a can. So I want you to take an aluminum can and just throw it through a concrete wall. It's never going to happen, guy. And now I want you to put fucking pillars that are reinforced with steel on some next level. It was designed to withstand multiple 747s, not just one. And
the guys who built the Twin Towers probably had terrorism in mind. It wasn't a thing that just came out. You know, terrorism didn't start on 9/11, obviously.
I like the idea of architects and engineers that wanted to be terrorists, but they were just really good at math, and they're like, fuck it.
Let's just use this for good, not evil. Yeah.
So I mean, besides the security, the fire alarm system was on test condition in the week before 9/11, right? With these extra security measures were being implemented. World Trade Center 7 is a 47-story office building located 370 feet north of the North Tower, right? So they're all relatively around each other. And when you look at the destruction that happened, it's hilarious to not observe the destruction that didn't happen around it. It's like just WTC buildings were taken down.
Very specific.
And you see like the Verrazano building is still up right next to it. And you're like, yeah, I know there was some damage, but so specifically every morning for 7 days before 9/11, the building's fire alarm system was placed on test condition. So people are just like completely ignoring it, right? It's supposed to be, and this is normal. On September 11th, it was again put on test condition at 6:47 a.m. and only returned to normal monitoring exactly 8 hours later at 2:47 p.m.
So it missed the whole thing.
Yeah, so the first plane I believe hits like 9:42. I'm correct. So that means that for 7 to 8 hours after the initial impact, that's it. So we're talking. Those are two. Okay, weird. But the elevators is what I like to tell people because they're like, okay. So how do they detonate a building like that?
Also, you missed this part. The New York Times called its collapse, you're talking about World Trade Center number 7, a mystery that under normal circumstances would probably have captured the attention of the city and the world, and noted that World Trade Center 7 was the first skyscraper in modern times to collapse primarily as the result of a fire. Exactly what we said before. These engineers and architects build these buildings to be like fucking strong and not just collapse because part of it is on fire.
I love it. The most anomalous building collapse in our entire history of engineering. And everyone's going to be like, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Like, at any time, when are we looking at logic and rationale? But it's like they always say, how could they keep all that a secret? How could they get like detonating shards and cordite? How could they plant all thermite everywhere? Well, this is how they could do it, all right? And this is how I think they did do it. I don't think. This is how the engineers and architects believe. Elevators were out of operation before 9/11. This anomaly could be particularly significant in the light of the possibility that the Twin Towers were brought down with explosives, since it had been indicated that the availability of unused elevator shafts would have made it easier for demolition workers to plant explosives throughout the buildings. At least one elevator that went all the way up the North Tower was out of operation before 9/11. Each of the Twin Towers had 2 passenger elevators that went from the base to the top of the building. Referring to one of these elevators in the North Tower, they wrote the elevator that ran directly from the ground all the way down, right? So this is from the Windows of the World restaurant. It was out of service on September 11th. Apparently referring to the same elevator, ABC News correspondent Dan Dollar reported on the morning of September 11th that a major elevator that went all the way down from the top had been malfunctioning for at least a month. They've been having a lot of trouble with that, he added. I love it that these guys, like, they got all the little insights. Like, how the fuck are you getting this information on 9/11? There is a straight up fucking tragedy happening across. And then, hey, get that elevator operator guy on the phone. I imagine he's totally, hey, real quick, so tell me all about that. All right, it's programming, man. It's called programming for a reason. If you get your information through screens, YouTube, if you get your information through screens.
Well, Ryan, this podcast is coming through YouTube.
I know, believe me, I know. But it's also going into ears. Mm-hmm. The ears that we're connecting are the ones that are driving to work, that are doing forklifts, that are kicking ass. These are like the Fight Club podcast listeners.
Totally.
The moms that are like scrubbing dishes and just, tuning in to Chrissy to see the next sexy one. They're going to get a little taste, but this is for those that are like, yeah, I know what he's saying. Because we all have questions about 19 years ago. Like, you can ask people where they were when Kennedy was shot, they remember. Like, you ask people what the fuck happened on 9/11, everyone just shrugs their shoulders.
So it's kind of smart that some people thought, oh, let me talk to the people who worked in and around this building ASAP before they can probably be told something else or told to shut up or whatever. It's smart that somebody thought to talk to the elevator guy.
I love all those. It's so hard to find any old of the videos from that time. Like, since in the 19 years has passed, right? The internet has been scrubbed and re-scrubbed. Dude, I used to find websites and different things and different articles that I can never find again. I've like bookmarked them, I go to them, they're gone. And then videos of like first responders talking about hearing explosions, they're gone. And I love those because they're these New Yorker dudes that are covered in dust, blood.
Oh my God, real dudes.
Yeah, they're like fucking guys that are like telling exactly what they remember. They remember hearing boosh, boosh, boosh. Systematic fucking break, and that's not floors collapsing. I've worked in construction. I've like been blue collar all my life, and I've been in high rise. I used to be an elevator operator at University of Riverside back when they were building this bio.
It's a manual elevator.
Yeah,
that's a skill. That's like a real skill because you could open that thing up in the middle and it freak people out.
And and so you see how thick I'd go and see how thick those fucking floors are as I'd go through them. And I'd always think like, yeah, maybe a couple fucking floors come through, but eventually it's gonna stop, man. There's so many columns in that goddamn building. Like, the building should not have came down the way it did. That's just it, man. Like, they came down at free fall speeds. They came down in ways that put out the puff of smoke the same way that when you do controlled demolition. And people want to just like bat away any of your shit. That's why I'm like, month prior, security, the elevators.
So are you saying there were elevators in both buildings, top to bottom, that were out of commission?
Yep.
Before.
And so that made they had access to all floors. They could go anywhere they want, all times of days. Like, and really, I mean, people say like, how are you gonna ever like keep something like that hidden? Like, dude, I sign NDAs all the time. I work on music videos, and I see the craziest shit. Like, I see the craziest shit, and nobody's talking about that because guess what? Those people have powerful people that can ruin my life. Imagine if I fucked with the Illuminati. I would still be alive, but everyone I know would probably be dead or die of cancer. Oof. So that's why I tell people, I'm like, dude, it's not a matter of if you believe this happened. I'm just telling you what did occur prior. And these are all these fucking anomalies. I mean, the physics and scientific other shit that you can always just pound in people's brains is the buildings followed the pattern of what they call controlled demolition. Straight down, symmetrical collapse into their own footprints.
Instead of like tipping over.
Yeah, I always wanted to go to Vegas when they destroy like a casino because like growing up as a kid, I would always see that, like local news, and damn, that's awesome. I mean, besides the horrible loss of life that day, people got to see some amazing shit come down. Now, very few people get to see Babylon fall, you know? And so the demolition waves removing column support, like literally it's designed in such a timed thing to where it's like,
Wow.
and then beyond all that, there was this smell. I mean, the minimal damage of adjacent structures, the sounds of explosives, like we've been saying. There's the enormous pyroclastic clouds of pulverized concrete. Pulverized concrete.
That smoke. It was, yeah.
Like you go, dude, to break concrete, it's not going to take, you're not going to break all the fucking concrete in that building with two planes. And then they found pools of molten like iron, right? And that's what happens during these controlled demolitions. And the one that they just, is the smoking gun that can't be anything, is that nanothermite was found in the dust at ground zero.
What's nanothermite?
Okay, so thermite, back in the day when the space shuttle used to have boosters, remember those orange boosters on the sides?
Oh, yeah.
And it would come off. Those bolts had to be destroyed, disconnected, and they used thermite. And thermite, I used to have the Anarchist Cookbook and the Terrorist Handbook back when you could like download those things, and you could make thermite from like basically a mix. I'm not going to say now, but there's a mixture of very household, different weird things, a little bit of oxidation and whatnot. And what you have is something, if you made a line, I made a little Coke line over your car from the hood to trunk, and I was able to light it with magnesium because it needs extremely high temperature. It would burn and cut your entire car in half.
Wow, so, that's crazy.
So nanothermite is designed to cut through and melt and then destroy. Okay, nanothermite's not in fucking jet fuel. Nanothermite and these explosive type things aren't found in a commercial building. Yeah. All right, and then beyond all that, people that came to search and rescue these guys deal with like, you know, explosives and all that. They smelled cordite, and cordite is it's in the family of a catalyst of basically it's used to get fire started. It's really get explosions. It's not found in anything but military and demolition. What the fuck was it doing there?
Yeah, and the buildings they free falled through the path of greatest resistance, right? Like it's the hardest for a building to collapse onto itself because there's tons of other shit in the way. It would have made more sense for this shit to fly all around the sides, tip over, right? For it all to come down inside of itself is actually physically harder to do.
So, and then once this is like my style of trying to get someone. This is like mental jujitsu. Jujitsu is like you give someone your arm because you know that you're just bringing them further into your trap. So my thing is to like, let's bring people down the path to accept that something fishy happened on so many levels, prior, during, as it fell. Now people are like, well, why would they want to destroy WT7? Well, World Trade Center 7 was reported to have had thousands of sensitive files related to some of the biggest financial scams in history, included Enron, WorldCom, and where it was stored was these tenants that were there. Like you go up to the little, like, okay, you know, it's U.S. Secret Service, NSA, the CIA, IRS, BATF, SEC, the NAIC Securities, Solomon Smith Barney, American Express, Standard Chartered Bank. These are all institutions and agencies that are directly tied to scams, to drug running, to moving of terrorism. So people are like, okay.
Federal Home Loan Bank. Wow.
So now we have what we call motive. So, but why? Okay, why? Well, yeah, September 11th happened because September 10th. And September 10th, I always say, do you ever know what happened on September 10th? Some people do. I'll like, just go ahead. Donald Rumsfeld, CNN, straight up. It's a quote that he's always misquoted, but it still is worth, basically, Donald Rumsfeld quote, according to some estimates, we cannot track down 2.3 trillion in transactions. And so
And who was Donald Rumsfeld at the time?
So Rumsfeld was basically all in charge of the military spending, and he was his exact name, his exact position beyond me. But Rumsfeld is in front of the Senate committee hearing, and they're saying, "Yeah, we got your budget. Where is all this money? What you got?" And he's like, "Yeah, but what it's referring to, okay? Because they're always thinking this is referring to like right in September 10th. This is referring to in fiscal 1999, a defense audit found that 2.3 trillion of balances, transactions, and adjustments were inadequately documented. All right, that's a big discrepancy. These unsupported transactions do not mean the department ultimately cannot account for them, right? But they just could not track them down. And the person that was given the quoted time, she's like, it's going to take a while to track it down. And so then they bring him in front sometime later, right? And auditors, they try to say that, okay, we have them in New York. We also have them in our financial area and the accounting in the Pentagon. We'll get you all that info. So on September 10th, he was brought up in front and they're like, yo, where's this missing money? And he's like, yeah, I got them receipts. I'll be right back. And then he just got in the fucking car and he's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's Operation 66, boom, and then it's on. So the reason why is this claim supports the conspiracy that the terror attack against the Pentagon was supposedly a false flag, right? Rumsfeld had knowledge that the terror attack would take place the next day, knowing that the news of missing trillions would be buried in this massive attack. No one has ever talked about this since.
Where did the money go? What do you like?
Do you remember the end of Die Hard with a Vengeance?
Yes.
Halfway through the film, we find out that it was all a bank robbery, right? And then the construction crew was really loading up all the gold and leaving. So what this all comes down to is there was a task force called El Dorado Task Force. I've talked about this before, other people have. It's a known thing. And it was made up of, it's like a whole I'll give my exact information for you so you can get it. So the whole idea was that the El Dorado Task Force was a multi-different agencies that were all trying to track down discrepancy in money that had to do with basically, here it is right here, sorry. El Dorado. A multi-agency task force led by the U.S. Customs and IRS, the El Dorado Task Force consists of over 200 representatives from federal, state, and local law enforcements, targeting the primary avenues of drug traffickers using the laundry of drug profits, money, services, physical transportation, merchandising, and banking.
Wow.
Banking. So W Trade Center, so El Dorado Task Force, right? This was set to go find the money that they're talking about, right? Well, El Dorado Task Force was in World Trade Center 6. And everyone talks about whatever happened to, WT7, and it is good to talk about it because there is no doubt that World Trade Center 7 fell and whatnot. But the thing is, World Trade Center 6 is an 8-story building that stood directly northeast of Tower 7, which is World Trade Center 1. All right, CNN aired an explosion of the building, reportedly exactly at 9:04 a.m. At least one first responder had reported hearing explosions in the building and being told that it might collapse, right? After 9/11, the center of the building had a large hole down the center of it, localized, deep. It went all the way down to the basement levels.
That's like telltale explosives.
Okay, and so you could see this image, and it's like, we fucked that one up. An explanation, right, of how falling debris from destruction of World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7 could do this, right? How could just make the entire thing gone? Its tenants, all right, consisted almost entirely of federal government agencies. And these are the government agencies that we were just talking about: United States Department of Commerce, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Fires, Explosives, United States Department of Labor, the Peace Corps, straight up the Export-Import Bank of the United States, and the El Dorado Task Force. So September 10th. Where's my receipt? Yo, I got it. I got backups in Pentagon. I got them over there in World Trade Center 7. And don't worry, our guys work over in 6. So, hey, man, we take them all out. Take them all out. And so this is a cleanup. What we're doing here is a wild ass smoke and mirrors, David Blaine shit. Look over here why this is happening. It's straight up. Some maniac in one of those dark rooms was like, dude, I was watching Die Hard with a Vengeance the other day. Any way we can do that? Any way we could actually do that shit?
Is it almost like they knew the American public would fall for blaming it on bin Laden because that's an outside enemy? You know, most people I think probably didn't know a lot about.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I just feel like people weren't. Terrorism wasn't really a thing.
Yeah. And we never asked questions. The same way, like so then you think about this building. All right. Well, they definitely probably did forensics on this building. Well, World Trade Center 6 was demolished as a part of the cleanup of Ground Zero, right? FEMA, the agency charged with investigating the disaster, did not collect any data of this building. The building has been targeted to stop investigation of financial crimes more than anything. So this was like, how do we cover up everything? We got to burn down everything. And I mean,
and I think you last left off after the Rumsfeld thing, that Rumsfeld had the knowledge that the terror attack would take place the next day. And that the money like drama would be buried by the 9/11 coverage, and that didn't the flight went exactly into the spot in the Pentagon?
77 was intended to impact the Pentagon at the exact spot where the documents would reveal this, right? This impact and subsequent damage and fires would then destroy the evidence by planning out and carrying an immensely complicated plan. Organize a fake hijacking, swap the plane with the missile, get rid of the plane along with the crew and the passengers, make sure the missile hits the exact right spot, make sure the fires are so destructive that all evidence is lost, except for the famous thing that they found there is like luggage and some like a passport, and people vaporized, the engines vaporized that were made of titanium, everything vaporized, but fucking people's like little wheelie cart, and dude, it's ridiculous. The thing so I mean, we all saw those buildings come down. While the video accounts for World Trade Center attack aired immediately, no video footage of the Pentagon was ever released until 2006.
Wow. Weren't people like upset for 5 years being like, where the fuck is the footage? Or were they more focused on the Twin Towers?
It was all that, and like the little forums and everything. Everyone's always like, dude, where's the footage? Have you seen the footage? And it's like at all these false flag events and all these terror attacks, the closed circuit television has like a spritz and it goes down, and then the whole local traffic cams go down, ATM cameras go down. It's like, dude, yeah, right. So, but the FBI confiscated 84 of the 85 videos from the Pentagon, and they only released that single one that you can Google right now. And in that video, there's a single frame missing. Just like in the murder film, like in the JFK assassination, there's like 8 frames missing in that one.
Didn't you send me a video where it looked like there was basically the video of the missile going into the building? It's not a plane. It's just like a little pew, you know.
And also where that's at, it had to do this insane, like wild fucking Star Fox shit to like, there's no way that you could even get a commercial airline
to hit it that low. Yeah.
That low, but also at the angle he came, and he had to do like this crazy spiral fucking like banana thing. So, I mean, not only did they take the footage from the government cameras, but they also took private cameras.
Like people's cell phones?
Yeah. Only one view was released, and it doesn't even show enough to be conclusive. It does not show a 757. It appears to be whatever the fuck you think that it is, because it looks long and cylindrical, and it doesn't seem to have a lot of wing action on it. I don't see a fucking big-ass tail. Do you
think there were people that were like, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, how many people are going to be standing outside the Pentagon with their phone ready to record? There's probably like, most people were inside. I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of a low-key spot. You know, it's not like smack dab in the middle of New York City where people are out with their phones.
Were
camera phones a thing in 2001?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because here's the thing. 2001, think about the technology that you had. What did you have, like a razor? Maybe?
2001. Oh shit. You know what? Actually, yeah, I was just starting college. I didn't even have a cell phone yet.
Yeah. So the very few people that did,
Yeah.
they're saying that that they made those awesome phone calls from the planes. They're so high up. You're telling me the cell phone technology was that advanced? Have you tried to make a cell phone call while you're on an airplane nowadays?
No, it's like impossible. Well, now it's maybe possible now, like if you get the special pack, the special
Yeah.
plan.
It's one of those things where it's like very questionable. Did the technology even support the ability to support this narrative? I mean,
Right.
and then that's what comes to the evidence vacuum. All right, authorities systematically confiscated and destroyed the evidence. Video recordings, adjacent buildings were seized by the FBI. Only 2 video segments have ever been released by the Pentagon from all the security cameras and the monitoring in peripheral areas. Neither clearly shows an attack craft, right? Like, I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, some eyewitnesses, even there, smelled cordite, which, like I'm saying, it's a smokeless propellant. That's what it's called. So portions of this facade where the wing ends should have hit,
Yeah.
that there should be, like, it shows little or no gouging. Like,
Right. Because the wings would have hit up against something.
yeah, and there should be, you scrape your door against some concrete, you leave a little bit of mark,
Yeah.
but it's no. I mean, it's one of those things where at a certain point in time, am I the crazy person for believing that this is an inside job, or is denial like that powerful in America?
Well, I don't think we want to believe that the people we're supposed to trust, the people we think have our backs, like the people in charge, uh, would plan something that's going to kill, thousands of Americans and be like, fuck it. It's worth covering up all this missing money. It's worth covering up our shit. I think it's easier. It's an easier thing to believe that it's an outside enemy, people that hate America, hate what we stand for. You never want to think the call's coming from inside the house.
Yeah, and that same day, it was a Tuesday, and that's when records used to come out. Remember, there was things called records and CDs.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, I've said this before in other pods, but it's worth saying because it's my 9/11 memory. I had all these different groups of like stoner friends, like the stoner Filipinos and the stoner like heavy metal dudes and like the little like total like bros. And I went over to the heavy metal heads and like I'm walking up and there's this heavy sound coming from them. And I'm like, these fools probably don't even know this shit happened. I walk in there and they're watching the replay, Towers Fallen, and they're listening to an album that had just been released that day by Slayer. It's called God Hates Us All.
Oh God.
And the fucking, dude, and I was like, I don't know, this does seem a little perfect for right now. This is the soundtrack to World War III and to like the beginning of the apocalypse. Because from that day forward, I can't say that I disagree with that song. And I can't say that
I think we could.
I mean, look around you right now. I don't know if your state's on fire. But
it's pretty chill in Westchester, although I am double thinking whether or not I want to be in the city for election night. I mean, I have some time to figure out if that's going to happen or not. But I think if we were going to have the soundtrack of World War III, I think Cardi B's WAP would be on there for sure.
Yeah, that's about right. We were there. I mean, so it brings you to like, so yeah, definitely people died that day. They died out in the buildings. I'm never, ever discrediting that. It's a hard thing to talk about this shit. In my personal life, I went to high school with someone whose the mother of his children was murdered in the actual Las Vegas shooting. So I know someone that has lost someone in a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Whether or not that was a fucking false flag, it doesn't matter. The death is still real. So like the thing about this death toll though, the death toll of the attack, I mean, it's horrific, was much lower than it would have been if for numerous aspects, right? The flights, all 4 flights were unusually like light, like crazy light, even for back in then when I don't know, maybe people weren't flying as much, but it seems like it. The flights 11, 175, 77, and 93 were only at 51% capacity, 31%, 16%, and 20%, right? That's like,
Mm.
that's, I don't know. It's whatever.
So it
The
almost
world,
looks like they picked light flights on purpose, one
I
could
mean,
say.
and remember those numbers. We're going to go back to those numbers because there's something about numbers are an important thing. But the World Trade Center, the towers were attacked before most people had even arrived, and they were hit like high enough where most people like could escape that would be showing up, right? When Flight 11 hit the North Tower at 8:46 a.m., the World Trade Center building was at least half the occupancy of the typical midday.
This is why I never go to work early. It's just, I'm against it.
Or have a window.
Yeah, I got to work on a low floor.
Yeah, the first tower to be attacked was hit just 15 stories below the top and trapped people mostly between like the 95th and the 110th evacuate from that exact impact zone.
Which to me sounds like, oh, that's like most like corporate buildings. They have like executive dining floors on the top floors. You know what I mean? And remember all those accounts of like people jumping out of the windows and you're like, oh, it looks like they're dressed like caterers. I mean, that's what's really sad is like all those guys.
Oh, God, that is fucked. I mean, the 17 minutes that elapsed since the first hit, it allowed people to escape the second tower while the elevators were still working there, right? I mean, that's what we're dealing with there. The Pentagon, 125 people were killed in the building. That building normally has 20,000 people in it.
Wow.
It's a fucking massive building. What we see is just the top. It goes down unbelievable amounts. It's probably like the building from Resident Evil. It's like
It goes down deep, like
yeah,
it's
it goes
wow.
way down. It goes extremely deep.
Like an Apple store. You remember like there's an Apple store on Fifth Avenue and it was just like the glass block, but all of it was happening like underground.
And I miss New York. I miss going to things why a Target needs to be 5 stories, like an aisle per floor.
Yeah.
I mean, the portion of the Pentagon was attacked on the West Block in the processing of it being renovated, right? So not only was it the exact spot you need to hit, but they were also renovating at the time, very minimal amount of people being in there. I mean, no high-level Pentagon officials were killed in the attack.
How convenient.
Many decisions and events in the days and months preceding the attack helped to make the incompetence theory more plausible. And more you think about it, it's like, it's a tricky situation everywhere in life. It's like, is it ignorance or is it arrogance? You know? And that's when we're dealing with jarheads and military chain of command and bureaucracy, that's a fucking fine line. I mean, I titled this section, moving on to this one, because when people want to know, then that's like, well, why didn't they put up like, you know, something to scramblers to dispatch after the first plane? And there's that many planes, there's 4 or 5, you know, everyone talks about, well, it's the original clusterfest, all right? This shit is such a fucking bullshit. There was war games going on that day in many like quadrants of the United States, right? Several war games were being conducted on 9/11. Operation Northern Vigilance redeployed northeastern sector of air defense resources to northern Canada and Alaska, all right? So that was going on right there, all right? Operations Vigilant Warrior and Vigilant Guardian, which simulated hijacking and involved live radar inject, may have confused military and civilian personnel monitoring the aircraft. So they had themselves a simulated hijacking that day.
That seems weirdly convenient.
And the ultimate for me, when I like read through this, because like everyone, people know of the different alphabet agencies, NSA, FBI, CIA, but the one that people very hardly ever talk about is NRO. And that's the National Reconnaissance Office. Super, super boring. Anything that sounds boring is sketchy as fuck. Because those dudes have been monitoring everything, satellites, airborne objects, everything. These guys monitor the UFOs that come in and out. They monitor
even our drones, our drones that we use to take videos of our vacations.
So the National Reconnaissance Office, which monitors satellites, airborne objects, was evacuated while the attack unfolded because it was conducting what they called a plane into tower crash drill.
I mean, how can the people that work there not be like, I mean, so you're saying that they knew, they had to have been in on it because it's too much of a coincidence.
And this is, I mean, this is the one that didn't drive it home. If you don't think those three make you think, well, then the Tripod 2 was an exercise. It was a biowarfare exercise. And that shit was scheduled for 9/12. Let's just be happy 9/12 didn't happen. I'm sorry 9/11 happened. 9/12, it resulted in the deployment of FEMA to Manhattan before the attack. That's why FEMA was ready to be there, because they were already the next day, they were going to do biowarfare exercise. How the fuck the Federal Emergency Management Agency got on site like that? But then years later, they couldn't get to help out Katrina for fucking
Yeah.
Because they're there when they want to be, and they're not when they don't want to be. And
wow.
I mean, and then another one, the lack of military response. Despite normal intercept times between 10 and 20 minutes for errant domestic flights, the airliners commandeered on 9/11 roamed the skies for almost an hour without interference.
Meaning like another plane could have come in, like military, and then just taken him down or shot him down, right?
Yeah, and so they also had failures to report, according to NORAD, and that's like the Northern Alliance. They're the guys that, remember in War Games, he's playing against the computer? That's where he's at. He's in NORAD in Colorado. The timeline for the FAA reported that the airliners were just inexplicable delays, right? The FAA took 18 minutes to report the Flight 11's loss of communication. 18 fucking minutes, dude. Like they don't do minutes in FFA. It's constant communication when you have things moving at that speed. So FFA took 39 minutes to report Flight 77's deviation from its flight path. You can't just be like, oh, wait, what are you doing, Bob? I'm just fucking doing some donuts over here, dude. Don't worry about me. I'll get back on track. It doesn't happen. It didn't happen now. It doesn't happen nowadays. It didn't happen then. It did, but it's because they let it. I mean, these are the failures to scramble I'm talking about. Interceptors were only scrambled from distant bases after long delays, despite the fact that Flight 11 and 175 were headed straight to New York City. No interceptors were scrambled from nearby LaGuardia or from Langley, which, let's not forget what Langley is, the home of the CIA. They don't give a fuck, right? All right, despite NORAD's having received formal notification of the first hijacking at 8:38, no interceptors were scrambled from Andrews. All right, it's straight up. This is, at what point in time are you going to, how much shit do I got to shovel down your throat?
And by scrambling, you mean like in an ordinary plane hijacking, what, there's something that somebody else can do to scramble, like what, the GPS on the plane, or like how can they take out or stop a plane other than basically like another plane shooting at it or shooting it down? Like, how does the scrambling work?
They have all the technology to be able to, the whole idea is that they get fighters up and they're on them. They're coming on them, and basically they're there to be like, yo, you're off course, get back on course, land immediately, come with us. It's like, have you ever gone to a part of Vegas that you're not supposed to be? Like in seconds, there's going to be two big dudes with earpieces that are going to grab you and be like, not down here, guy, and push you out the next door. So that's what they mean by any like deviation of flight pattern. There is so much shit going on. You can download an app right now that shows you in real time what your sky looks like above you. You could see the fucking shit happening.
What's it called?
It's like I believe it's like Air Watcher or something. It's on my phone. It's one of those ones where I every now and then when I'm out in the desert and I see something that doesn't necessarily look like a drone or an airplane, I want to like see if it's maybe registering on this app, and if it's not, then I'll be like, all right, unidentified light source. So
wow.
But, I mean, it's endless. I mean, they the whole thing is, this is the one that really got me. I mean, failures to intercept. That means to really just to come up on it and to have guys to the left and right. Once in the air, interceptors flew at only small fractions of their top speeds, assuring that they would fail to, like that means that they were just like cruising. They just put it in second gear. 2 F-15 scrambled from Otis Air Force Base, chased Flight 11, flew at an average 447 miles per hour.
Wow.
That's about 23% of their top speed. Their top speed is 1,800 miles per hour.
Holy shit.
These dickheads were literally, it's like when you see a fight happening across the bar and you're like the only bouncer and you're like, I'm gonna let this see if that shit just plays out on its own, you know, and I'll walk over afterwards and, hey guys, carry on. The 2 F-16 scrambled from Langley to protect the Capitol, flew at an average 410 miles per hour. That's 27% of their top speed. So they weren't even, I mean.
They weren't really trying to stop it.
I try to, I don't know, because I have people in my life that love America, but it's not about hating America. It's about knowing that there's a big fucking smoke and mirrors bullshit that went down 19 years ago. And if I have to one day look my nephew in his face and he asks me ever what happened, I would like to at least be able to give him facts. I don't want to tell him the Jews. I don't want to tell him fucking the Arabs. I don't want to tell him some bullshit like that. I want to tell him Uncle Sam. I mean, that's how it begins. It started here. And I mean, what are you gonna do, right? What are we gonna do? I mean, at the end of the day, the 9/11 Commission was given extremely limited funds, all right? And I take this from a Wu-Tang lyric. You got short arms and deep pockets, right? 15 million was given to investigate the 9/11.
Wow.
You know
by who?
Okay, that's just by the federal government to investigate 15 million. You know how much money they used to investigate the Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky?
10 million?
$60 million.
So they spent more money investigating Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton than they did investigating 9/11. Wow.
And you would think that when something like 9/11 happens, they would immediately start investigating it. The Bush White House had stalled the start of the investigation officially for over 400 days.
So over a year. They didn't do any kind of investigation for over a year.
No.
That's wild. Wouldn't people have been like, what the fuck? Or I guess, right? There was like, I don't know, not less internet, but less smartphones. So people couldn't probably get their outrage out there as much.
Now, earlier I was telling you, remember those numbers? Well, I'm going to leave you with this because it's one of the things, there's 4 people that keep on popping up in my life, no matter how hard I try to push them away. And that's Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, to some extent. I mean, I can't get rid of him, but his name is Robert Anton Wilson. In a weird way, I would like to be the second coming of him, but that means I got to meet some bankers real soon. And then the final man is Aleister Crowley. Now, the unholy Crowley, he is like known as the Great Beast. The number 666 is attributed to him. He's the whole reason I even think of most things when you think of like evil in the modern era, Western, if you will, right? So the reason that those numbers of those flights and even the number of 9/11 is so important is because in the esoteric and the occult, right? Numbers, they call it gematria. Numbers represent things bigger than words can even understand, right? They're giant concepts. And much like a psychedelic trip, the intent that you put into it is what you get back. So 11, let's just break down that 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11.
We didn't say there'd be math on this podcast, Ryan.
I'm not good at math either, but 9/11 equals 11. The Twin Towers are, all right, the number 11 was the most important to Aleister Crowley. He learned of the symbolic meaning of the number from his research into the occult in the later part of the 19th century as a member of the quasi-Masonic magical group, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Aleister Crowley wrote about the number 11 frequently and emphasized its importance as shown below. Well, I'm about to show it to you, actually. So, firstly, 11, this is a quote from it. Firstly, 11 is the number of magic in itself. It is therefore suitable to all types of operation. So the idea is, check this shit out. He was known for saying, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Isn't that like a big anarchist saying?
So they probably have adapted to it, because I can imagine that there's aspects of OTO into anarchy, but I mean, the reason that it's so weird is because that has 11 words and 11 syllables. Right? Now, 77 represents half of.
Can I tell you something crazy? My birthday is 11/11. Does that mean I'm magical?
Very magical. Do it. Put some. Hey, someone send her an Aleister Crowley T-shirt or swap the face on your birthday. 77 represents half of the formulation of sexual magic in both the OTO and the Kabbalah. It represents the 77 infernal names of the devil, as the Satanic Bible, as Anton LaVey said. Anton LaVey is a little bit of a goofball, I think, but still he followed some Crowley shit. Okay, now 93. It's the Kabbalistic gematria values of the Greek words thelema, which is will, agape, which is love, and Iowas. And so Iowas was Crowley's like magical, it was like a demon angel alien that talked to him, right? And he meditated in the king's chamber inside Egypt. And he was back in the day when you can get inside there. And he had contact with an entity that gave him knowledge. And from that, he then wrote what he would then call the Book of the Law, I believe is what the exact title is. And so line by line, right, on the Book of the Law, line 175, that's 175, just like the flight, in Crowley's magical system is a ritual used to invoke any deity by adoration. So the idea is you're lining up all these things. Now, if you follow a recipe and you do it exactly as it goes down, you will get the end result.
Yeah. I just made really good banana bread because I had a really good recipe.
And the key to that is a little bit of lemon zest.
So you're saying this was like a spell. One could say that this was, all these numbers were like a spell.
So the idea is that the 4 flight numbers on the day of 9/11 were 11, 77, 93, and 175. These numbers are all super important in the OTO. And the whole idea now, I was telling you this before we started, I was kind of giving you a little rundown of what those towers look like. I was like, they look like the number 11, but more importantly, in the Masonic tradition, you'll see images, you'll see 2 columns, and one has Earth on it, and one has like the universe, shows like stars. And the idea is through the system of learning the ancient mystery schools that the Masons then learned from, right, is that you can use the compass and the square to measure and control. And the idea is you can measure the known universe and control the world. Well, in order to do things like that, you need to do it very systematically, the same system that they have. Well, that day, they set a spell, they casted it, they sacrificed lives, and then from that point on, we are feeling the effects of it. I mean, the towers themselves were symbolic of the number 11. The date was, right? And of course, the 11th was one of the planes that hit the number flight 11, right?
Wow.
The book of the law. All right. Now, this is straight up a quote from Crowley. The book of the law was given to mankind chiefly in order to provide it with an incapable principle of practical politics. We should have no compunction in utilizing the natural qualities of the bulk of mankind. We do not insist on trying to train sheep to hunt foxes or lecture on history. We look after their physical well-being and enjoy their wool and mutton. In this way, we all shall have contented class of slaves, will accept the conditions of existence as they really are, and enjoy the life with quiet wisdom of the cattle.
Is he calling people sheep right here?
Big time. Cattle, sheep. The idea is, if you don't know what's going on, then just keep your head down. Keep it eating the grass. Don't worry about what's going on up here. This is for us in charge of shit.
Wow.
So, I mean, we can try to, I think it's important to go and support the AE 9/11 Truth, Architects for 9/11 Truth. Definitely. But what are you going to do? They're going to get money?
Yeah. What are we going to do?
It's like, even if they got money to the people that are the survivors, I mean, what is that? It's never going to bring anything back.
Yeah. What do we even do at this point? It's like, if what you're saying, all you're saying is true, the gears have been set in motion for quite some time. And, I mean, but now it feels like, and especially people who are even still listening to this podcast or like listen to the other shows that I've put out, I think a lot of us are beyond the just keeping your head down and eating grass phase. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of us are at least too curious to go back. So what do people like you and I and people listening, I mean, like, what do we do? We're not all going to go work for the government and like try to take it. It just feels like all these systems are so much bigger than all of us. But you don't want to feel hopeless. You don't want to feel helpless.
I mean, honestly, it's one of the reasons I don't talk too much about like why I left tinfoil, but I had like a lot of I had a lot of shit going on in my head. I had like a lot of pain. I had like friends that killed themselves, and this introducing all this into it, and it was bad for me at that time in my life, because as you see, I don't just kind of look at shit. I go into it. I wear the skin of it. I feel what it's like, and for me, I saw what was coming in the next. We would get emails that then there would be news about a month later, and these emails would. I mean, it would always creep me and Sam out. We'd be, what
would you get emails from?
We got this, and we get this email from a full-on. It was a .Navy intelligence. Like it was like not even an ID.
Oh,
it was like
shit!
Straight up,
what, like Q or something?
So this is before there was such a thing as Q. So what we got was a single photograph of just an aerial satellite photograph, and it just said "Follow the rabbit." And that's when I looked at it, and I was like, this is the beginning of a horror movie, man. This isn't like the fun part of our lives. And sure enough, like, I know to this day that I don't check some of the emails I get purposely when I see some of the shit they're sending me, because it's like, what do you want me to do with this guy? I'm trying to live in a world that's broken. Like I'm Chicken Little. Sky has already fallen. What do I do now? You know what I mean? I hate that I keep on saying this, but like, I feel like Ed Norton at the end of Fight Club. You met me at a really weird time in my life. And right now, my entire state's on fire. Right now, my entire country is fucking falling to pieces. Race relations are at an all-time low. And we're about to go into an election that either way we lose.
Yeah.
So the only thing I know is I hope to maybe ask people to look inside themselves and realize you ain't going to change the fucking Illuminati, dude. You ain't going to ever win. I'm sorry. You're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. What you can, though, do is you can change the inner fascist inside of you. You could find the fucking evil within inside you, and you could stomp that out. Because, like, also before we went on the air, we were talking about this whole thing in America. ANTIFA. Let's break that down. Anti-fascist. Let's just take away the anti part. So if I walked around people and be like, are you pro-fascist? They'd be like, fuck no. And I'd be like, so you're against fascism? Fuck yeah. So you're anti-fascist. So you're Antifa? No. Wait a minute. A word is a word, but now you have to understand, I am anti-fascist. I am not Antifa. And what we have in America right now is a strong man, thinking that that's how you're going to do. That's what a fascist is a strong man. What do they got in Brazil? A strong man.
You think Trump is a fascist?
Yeah, I think Trump's a fascist. I think anyone who wants to divide and control through
You think
division.
he wants to divide?
I think the guy's in the fucking WWF Hall of Fame. I think he's 70 years old. I want you to think about anyone in 70 plus years old. Do you give any fuck what they have to think about any part of their life? Do you care about anything that they've experienced? Maybe, but do you care about what they think about and how they think about the future? Their thoughts are old. Trump represents everything that's wrong in America. Old ways of thinking. Dude, we're not going to make something great again. It was never great to begin with. This country was fucking an experiment. Let's make America the great experiment again.
I don't think that fits on the hat.
There's no let's. How about, dude, it's what Rodney King said. Can't we all just get along? Like that dude was stomped to damn near the line. And yeah, he was on PCP and he was swinging on these fools hardcore before. He was beaten down, bloody. My city was burned down because of him. And he's the guy that said, can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
And then years later, I saw him at Pomona at a liquor store and gave him daps. My life's pretty cool, all right? I don't think that Trump is a uniter. Obviously, he's not. I don't think any politician is. I'm not into politics at all. Never have been, never will be. I believe the only two things that change anything in this world is blood and fire. Right now, my state's on fire. And when in a couple months, month and a half, my state's going to be bloody. Guaranteed. Because I witnessed what happens when we burned the city down back in the 90s. It's about time we burned it down again. And it is dry as shit out there. And everyone is fucking itching. And we are pushing ourselves. Like I said, it's the end of Thelma and Louise. There's nothing going to stop us. Every day is getting closer to the future. And my future, I hope, involves trying to be in nature, continuing to expand in every way, and hoping that other people will stop following blindly people that are wingnuts.
Yeah.
It's okay that you like them. It's okay that you think that what they say is interesting. Don't blindly follow people. Because you want to know who blindly followed people? Nazis. Are you a fucking Nazi? Then think for your fucking self. And that's what, at the end of the day, I need people to remember that Bill Cooper said, question everything, even what I say. And that's why I'm going to end with everything I said today. Go ahead and look into it. I might be wrong. But what I do know in my heart of hearts is that I'm here because fuck, man, what else am I going to do? The whole world's on fire. I can't get a job doing anything normal. I have anger issues. And I just want people
But you have great hair, Ryan. I mean, you gotta focus on the positives. I feel like this is like our ramen conversation. Like, and I also, while I think a lot of the things you're saying are true, I am like, call me like a stupid eternal optimist. I feel like there is a collective unconscious, whatever. I feel like our energy, if your energy is good, then you can positively infect the people around you. And if the good people come together, I think exactly what you're saying, like managing this, like whether things are good or bad, all we have control over is this right here. You know, you can figure out the war inside yourself and work your own shit out. You know what I mean? If you're good to your friends and your family, that passes on. And I think that's got to count for something. You know what I mean? When you think about what we can do, it's like get your own shit right with yourself, find your love, your purpose, you know, look at your unhealthy patterns.
You're saying how you and your boyfriend were you guys red pill each other. That's good. But beware, too many red pills equal a black pill. And I have
right.
I try every day not to be nihilistic. it's a little hard to find a ray of sunshine in it. That's why I'm glad I have friends like you that reach out to me and give me an opportunity to try to unscramble this knot that's inside between my heart and my head, because I am conflicted, much like everyone else is in this world. I have people that I love so much that I can't even be near them.
Yeah,
But
that's hard.
I just want, at the end of the day, I just want people to think for themselves.
That
And
is, yeah, that's the most important thing. Think for yourself, but also follow Ryan on Instagram at Nontute, Nontute. What is this? Saucy Luke's? Should I plug this too?
oh yeah, hey, you go to saucylukes.com and
SAUCYLUKES, SaucyLukes.com.
yeah, if you go to saucylukes.com and you enter Ryan, all capital, at checkout, you save 15% on your rubs and the mullet sauce. It's all organic, vegan, gluten-free. It's my friend Luke. He is the Saucy Luke, and we actually got something coming out soon. We're gonna be doing some YouTube videos. Kind of a little tease it here. The idea is my buddy is like award-winning barbecue chef out of Buckeye, Arizona. He wins barbecues. He's killer, but I'm a vegetarian. So my idea was, how can I get your rubs and your recipes into like a VBQ, vegetarian or vegan barbecue? So what we're gonna do is a 10 video series, and it's gonna be showcasing the whole scenario over there in Buckeye, Arizona. And what it's gonna be called is Off the Grill.
Oh, cute.
Stay tuned for that. It's coming
So
soon.
this is barbecue sauces we're talking here, not hot sauces.
No.
I just want to make sure there were not competing sauce sponsors going on here.
Add some of that hot sauce to the barbecue sauce, bring it up a notch.
Because Silk City's my girl. All right. This was great. Ryan, you're fascinating. Everybody follow him. I know he's crazy, but he makes a lot of good points. And you were doing the quarantine hairstyle before it was cool. You had the long beard and hair before.
Well, I'm actually growing this out for one more year, and then I'm going to get it made into a wig, and then I'm going to give it to Stavros Halkis of Cumtown.
He could use some hair.
He's beautiful, but he could use just a little more. So Stavi, baby, coming one more year, baby.
Are you going to give him one of your teeth too?
Maybe. I could use
No, keep your teeth. All right, Ryan, this was awesome. Thanks, buddy.